tupunguze gharama ya.
Echoes of shoes, the real sole survivor. These are some of the sentiments that have been coined by netizens who descended on the head of state with memes and skits after he was hit by a dusty shoe while launching the affordable housing project in Migori. Just minutes after the clip went viral, the meme battalion erupted with witty comments using the word shoe to create puns and hilarious wordplays.
Ruto ni shujaa, amerudishiwa shukrani. Sha haifanyi kazi lakini shisho shu imefanya kazi. Should we care about this? We shouldn't.
The netizens' creativity knew no bounds as they further made fun of security agencies tasked with finding the owner of the shoe. Some netizens likened the exercise to the prince who rummaged a village looking for the owner of a glass sandal in the famous Cinderella story.
Salale.
Wild reactions also saw the resurgence of the popular hit song by Heart the band Uliza Kiatu, which means ask my shoe, and Kiatu Kivue, meaning remove your shoes, by Rose Muhando, with netizens crowning the songs as the hits of the moment.
Wewe.
Popular comedians including Jugush set TikTok ablaze when they posted reenactments and skits poking fun at the incident.
Tumetenga viatu milioni 1. Kwanza tupunguze gharama.
Netizens further got some laughs by drawing comparisons with the George Bush incident, where a flying shoe missed hitting the then United States president while he was addressing the press. The youths of Migori County also caused a similar frenzy in 2014 when they heckled the then President Uhuru Kenyatta when he was touring the county. Ruto's strained relationship with social media users continues to haunt his regime, even as his allies, including Kotu leader Francis Atwoli, call for its regulation. Muthoni Brenda for TV47, Nairobi.
If you look at how the president's security is or should be organized, there must be several layers, which of course are inhibitors. Before you get to the president, you have to pass through them.
Following an incident in Korea West, Migori County, where a man allegedly threw a shoe at President William Ruto, police are questioning 3 individuals to establish the motive behind the incident. The incident, which is being considered as a significant security breach, has not yet been officially addressed by State House, the Ministry of Interior or Police Headquarters.
So when I look at it from a risk perspective, from a risk assessment perspective, there are quite a number of risks that the president was exposed to, and there was nothing that had been done to prevent the president from this kind of exposure, what I call mitigation measures.
Tulisema kwanza tupunguze gharama ya.
However, according to security analysts, it was an unfortunate incident against the head of state. Concurring with State House digital strategist and head of presidential special projects, Dennis Itumbi, who insinuated that it was an intended incident. Itumbi, through his social media account, said the shoe's owner comically wanted to take a glimpse of President William Ruto's moment, when another person, irritated and with a blocked view, thought the shoe was in the way and slapped it aside.
That shoe must have been slapped by somebody to turn it into a projectile that then went to the president, either intentionally or unintentionally. If you also go further and look at how that video, the whole video, you see everybody had their phone up trying to get a video of the president. Then there was this pair of shoes that was raised up. If you compare that and you bring that sound of a slap, basically tells you that the person who raised that pair of shoe probably was blocking somebody else.
Just how will this incident affect the president's area political ground?
So that brings in a political risk to the president, possibility of an irate crowd, right? So that must be taken into account when organizing events for the president. That's not quite a friendly zone or something of that nature. There's been not very good rhetoric.
Analysts now want heads rolling against Ruto's security detail to avoid future similar instances.
Reds must roll, retraining must be done, redeployment must be done. Everything, Even the whole strategy that has been put there needs to be redone again.
In addition to the fact that his platform was very close to the homes, there were a number of indications prior to the strange incident that his safety was probably in jeopardy. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
Ngojea, wachana nao wananchi.
Yes, indeed, that debate around the shoe that was used in Migori to a projectile targeting the president continues to make headlines. Two of the cartoons today talking about the same, the cartoon on the People Daily and the cartoon on the Standard. It is a big discussion and forms also some of the headlines on the front pages. Ruto security beefed up after shoe hurling in Migori tour. I think on the front page of Taifa Leo anasema watu watatu wamekamatwa kutokana na kisa hicho. Allow me to introduce my panelists this morning. James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North. Karibu sana Bwana Gakuya.
Thank you.
Kathy Rungu, political leader, also joins us. Karibu sana, Kathy.
Thank you.
Dismas Mukua, political risk analyst. A lot of discussions around the kind of political risk that the president faces. And karibu sana, Dismas.
Thank you very much.
And we'll also be joined via Skype by Joe Mutambu, former MP Mwingi. Bwana Mutambu is outside the country, but we'll link up with him later on. All right. So we start here, Bwana Gakuya. Of course, whatever happened in Migori has been condemned by so many people, but it speaks to the kind of risk that the president has in his continued tours of the country. Do you feel that probably the space around the president has become too commonplace? People are getting too familiar with the presidency, that they're getting a bit disrespectful?
Thank you, Idimoni. Allow me to salute viewers wherever they're watching this morning show from. And coming to the matter to hiring of the shoe to the head of state. Let me say from the onset that it's not a new fashion, because we have seen Bush pass through the same test once, and also the former president Uhuru Kenyatta in the same place of Migori. There was such a kind of an incident. What I would say is that at a time like this, when you have the best security, because I think that in fact, if there is any sector or any office that has been beeped with what we call the best security, is the office of the president, and especially his personal team of security. This is where you have Leke and anybody else. Those teams that you think that it is the sharp and which could be able to address such a Noge event whenever it appears. But it's unfortunate to see that in fact the shoe, which is not as fast as a stone, can be able to fly all the way up to where the head of state himself is the one who blocked it from facing probably his head. And to me, what I would say is that there is a lacuna and a laxity of security. And when a head of state can face such an incident, it is worrying, because for sure, ask yourself, if probably this shoe inside has anything to do with the bomb, which could have blown at the point that head of state stopped it, what do you think that could be the result? Mm-hmm. And in this particular case, I would say, it does not matter who is in the position, whether it is William Ruto, whether it is who, the security team should be serious enough to make sure that the head of state is not in any risk of that kind. Mm-hmm. Because that is to demonstrate that the whole Republic of Kenya, any other citizen, is insecure if the president can be penetrated in such a manner. Mm-hmm. And therefore, it's unfortunate, and I would ask that those who they are trusted to build the security of the head of state, including those other positions that are out there, because the head of state is not alone in that level of the executive. He's there in his team. And here we have also the other arm of the government, which is the Speaker, and also the Chief Justice, who depends on this security. Those offices should be protected, and nobody should judge them as an individual office, because these are public offices, and they ought to have what we call paramount security. And this should not be any single time a guesswork. It should be real, and it should be perfect. Otherwise, this is not a good show, and it is an awkward kind of action. And at this particular point in time, our security has failed us, and this has shown that we have totally relaxed on this area.
All right.
Yeah.
There are those who feel that the president has made himself a bit too familiar to people by his continued visits across the country. There are some politicians argue that he needs to sit in the office and work. Indeed, familiarity does breed contempt. And when you become too familiar, and the proximity between yourself as head of state and people, probably that is what is leading to this. Do you agree with that, Kathy?
No, I don't agree. I mean, first of all, I would like to condemn the act itself. I mean, it's a breach of security, and it is actually very unfortunate that we have gotten there. But just like Mheshimiwa has said, it's not a new thing. We have seen it before. But then for me, there are two things I can pick from this. Number one is the rising insecurity in the, what we would call the Nyanza region. I don't know whether you saw the videos that were coming from Homa Bay during the ODM grassroots election. Mm-hmm. And I think they almost killed several people. I don't know whether those people survived. So are we looking at tension in a very tense period as we gear towards 2027? Because that is also highly possible, It could be speaking to the unrest and disquiet at the grassroots level. But I think at the same time, the president and his security personnel need to really focus on his security more seriously, going by what happened, and even perhaps ensure that he stops doing the on top of vehicle kind of addresses all over the place, because I think that is what is exposing him even more.
Hence what I had started with. I said familiarity does breed contempt.
Possibly, that is also possible. Because, I mean, if there's a person who has not rested from the time he was elected up to now, I think it's President William Ruto. From the time he was elected up to this hour, he's always atop the vehicles and, speaking to people. I think during the campaign period that was okay, but at this point as a president, I think he needs to stop some of those moves. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you agree, Dismas, that yes, there's a risk when the president is too much out there, that every day people get to see him, they get too familiar with him, it becomes almost a casual encounter to see the president, hence such things happening?
Well, it will depend on a leader's style of leadership, and addressing Kenyans from the top of a vehicle. That is the easiest way, because it doesn't have a lot of logistical challenges. So my position would be not to ask the president to stop doing his grassroots rallies, because that is his style of leadership, but to ensure that his security team is alert, to ensure that such kind of an incident doesn't happen again. As Mheshimiwa has indicated, the president is the symbol of national unity. And it appears that it was just one of the young men in the village who decided to throw a stone. But assuming it was a scientific approach to what he did, as Mheshimiwa has indicated, that assuming maybe there was even a grenade inside, or there was something which is been made to detonate upon impact on using his hand, then today would be in a crisis. So the one has got valid expectations that the members of his security team, instead of just running around and displaying the heavy weapons, at every point in time they must do scenario analysis and do sensitivity analysis and find out what are the potential threats and mitigate them. And again, this is not the first time that you're having this kind of an incident. I remember not long time ago, President Kenyatta faced a similar incident, but the response by his security team was immediate. They formed a human shield around him. And in fact, President Kenyatta went ahead with his speech. Then also there was the case of George Bush when he was in Iraq, and I think one of the journalists decided to throw a projectile in the name of shoes. He did the first one, And it would appear that President George Bush was very alert, because in fact he dodged the first shoe and then he dodged the second one. So for him, unlike President Ruto, he did not attempt to block the shoe, because you remember we are told from basic physics that in fact an attempt to block the shoes could even activate something, and then it becomes disastrous. So at the end of the day, maybe the fellows who are in charge of a security team must sit back and ask themselves, what are the lessons learned from that incident, and how do you ensure that it does not occur again? And it's important to realize that this must not be limited only to President Kenyatta. It's everybody within, President Ruto. It's everybody within the territory of Kenya. Because one can easily say that that was an attempt on the president's life, because you may think that it's actually a normal shoe, but we know that some shoes are not normal. We've got very crafty guys. The shoe can be modeled in a certain way that upon impact, it detonates. And also we had the death of the MP for Kasipul. So people are asking if the president can be exposed in this manner. If a member of the National Assembly with bodyguards has been exposed to this manner, then what happens to the normal morale? Are we safer in the nation? So I think, while it appears that it's something very small that you can wish away, but the relevant security organs must sit back and ask themselves, what are the implications of these two incidents? Because, I mean, MPs have got bodyguards. Mm-hmm. So would one say that maybe the bodyguards were not alert, that maybe the bodyguards have become lazy in their assignments, in their responsibilities, or they become too casual? But again, you ask another important question, that as the president behaved in a manner that in showing watu wameanza kumzoea sana. You recall that when President Moi was running the nation, there was a lot of respect for the institution of the presidency. And I remember then I was a cab reporter. Even covering the president, there was a certain phobia. You see the president, you even begin to tremble, because there was some sort of an enigma. Even for President Kibaki, his public events, they were measured. There was a bit of a protocol. But at the moment President Kenyatta went to office, I think they decided maybe to demystify the presidency. But in the process of demystifying the presidency, the President Kenyatta and President Ruto have now made the presidency a laughing stock. Because even some of the things you see on social media, even the way the people, the kind of nicknames they give the president, while there's freedom of speech, freedom of organization, freedom of movement, but we must respect that institution as our symbol of national unity. You know, in some places, like in the UK, like yesterday, they were celebrating the VE Day. You see, there's a lot of respect for the monarch, that people really respect the symbols of national unity. So I don't know whether still we have a GHC in schools. Okay.
And allow me to bring in Joe Mutambu to this conversation. Joe Mutambu is a former MP Mwingi Central, who's joining us via Skype from South Africa. Joe Mutambu, good morning. Karibu sana.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm sure you've heard even from where you are about the biggest discussion about that projectile that targeted President William Ruto. And we're just discussing what implications it has, both on the security of the president and even the political repercussions of the same. The president at this point believes that Nyanza region is one of the places where he should receive a lot of support. This happening there definitely should cause him some concern.
What president should know is that people of Nyanza are lying to him. That is an indicator. And it is also an indicator that Kenyans don't like him. That's what I would say. Because it's like a volcano. It will boil, enter, but at one point it will erupt. It is now political volcano erupting on Mr. Ruto. It is quite unfortunate that it is happening in an area whereby he thinks he's getting some support. But what he doesn't know is that the leaders are lying to him. What leaders are telling him is not what citizens are feeling, and they are not for that. And this is a lesson, should be a lesson to the president to understand that Kenyans are thinking differently. the people who are the boss. You know, the boss is not Mutambo, is not Gaguia, is not Raila, is not Kalonzo. The boss is the people of Kenya. Those are the bosses. Those are the people who employ. And the moment you see them turning against you, there's a need to worry. So my take is that it's a lesson to the president and his team to understand something is wrong and is being cheated by those who are telling him everything ground equals sour. It is not. Number two, when it comes to security, in such a place like that, for such a thing to happen, I will not blame the security because I will tell you there were more than enough security officers. But the question is, what was the number of Kenyans who were there? And those Kenyans were not happy. Maybe the people who are following the president and the security guys were happy with the president. But those other Kenyans, and this is what president need to understand when you are visiting an area like this or any other part of the country, because President Ruto has become an enemy of state, has become an enemy of Kenyans. He need to ask himself, what do I need to do for me to get back that love Kenyans used to have for me? He has been left with very few clique of people who are lying to him day and night, and he cannot see it. This is the problem we are having with our own president, and it is giving a very bad international picture, internationally. I've been here for 1 day, and everybody is talking about it. In South Africa, they know what happened, and they even know his name, Kaongo. When you hear South African asking you, how is Kaongo doing? I mean, what can I tell them? And it's my country. I feel embarrassed. So it's quite unfortunate that such things are happening. And what I don't know is whether he has good people to manage him and to manage his rallies, because rallies, I'm a politician. Rallies are managed. People who come to the rally are managed. You know how to, one, to treat them, two, how to control them, three, how to have security around yourself, because apart from the police officers and the GSU, you need to have people who love you, surround you, to take care of your security. Mheshimiwa there will tell you, in Nairobi is a very complex territory, but people address their meeting and they finish without any issues. So something is wrong somewhere around Honorable Ruto. And I think it is starts from his administration, how he's handling people, how he's taking the country, how Kenyans are thinking about him and how are feeling about him. So all those things, he needs some people who can manage. And it is not easy for him. I know the time now is very bad for Honorable Mheshimiwa, my good friend. I don't know whether he still loves me or not, but things are not good for him.
I'm sure he's still your friend, Bwana Mutambo. And I know you disagree. I'll come to you, Bwana Dismas. You've seen the kind of reaction even online. To some extent, Bwana Mutambo does make some sense, because people are making a meal out of this. While it is an incident that should be condemned by everyone because it's targeting the security of the president, the Gen Zs are very easily making content out of that and making fun of it. We saw that story earlier on, making songs, even the caricatures against the president. This should not be the reaction that Kenyans have when their president is targeted like that.
What we need to understand is the position that we are as a country, because we have an experience of dissatisfaction with the youth in the last revolution made by the same youthful Gen Z during the last finance bill. And that kind of reaction, it tells you how bitter our young leaders or youths are. And that bitterness, they addressed it, and at a point the head of state was in what we call mingling with them through XPs, and in fact they cited their dissatisfaction and what they requested. I didn't think that actually the head of state obeyed that line, because what he did is that as they demanded the dissolvement of the then cabinet, that was done. But what the head did is that he still recycled the same cabinet with his old allies. And this is one of what condition was given by those youth leaders. Number two is that also the head of state has not taken serious on the battle which was directed by his agencies to those young leaders. Because we have seen a lot of extrajudicial killing, a lot of abductions all over the country, where the youths after that particular incident were not in peace any longer. And most of them lost their lives. This was intended to silence them, to such a not occurrence of such a situation. But as a government, as a state, I think that was not the election to go about. Because as a father, because the head of state is the head of state, and all back stopped at him. But remember, the leadership starts at home, because you first command your home and give order at home. And when getting outside there, you still bring the same manner to the public. And I think when your youths or when your children are crying and making noise, what you should do as a father is to listen to them, listen the source and the cause of their cry, try to address, and also make sure, if you agree on them, that let us take this route, it is important to work together. Mm-hmm. But when that cabinet was reconstituted, I didn't find the face of youth in that particular cabinet, and therefore I can't stand to say that their voice was well taken care of. It does not mean that, in fact, you must bring physically the youthful leaders at the front, but it is important for them to see somebody doing something towards their expectation. Up to now, youths are still boiling. And I can tell you, it's only that they are not in the streets, because the government faced them on a very serious fight, and also that loss of lives and a lot of intimidation. But let me tell you, that's why they have embarked to what we call the XPs, social media, because there they can be able to light anything which is aiding them. And this is telling you there is a time bomb. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why whatever was done, and if you have followed this what we call social media, youths are totally against every step the head of state is making. And in this case, it tells you they are not working together. And it is important to also to realize that youths have their space, because this is their country, and we need to do something as a country. We should not just blast them, because if we do that, the English tells us that, in fact, idleness is devil's workshop. When these youths are idle, and we are not committing them anywhere for them to realize their dreams, it tells them they will do a lot in those social media, and every other day they will be talking mad. And there's no single day they will be in the same page with the head of state.
Yes, we had the same problem when the president was in Isiolo. Same scenario, top of the vehicle, talking to people, then they kept chanting "Wongo, Wongo." Now you're seeing them hurling projectiles at the president. Then the reaction online, and one wonders, whatever Bonagakuya says could be true, that the direction the president has taken and the Kenyan youth, they're not together.
I think first, let's appreciate that the median age in this country is 19 years. And this is a generation that is pretty much, knowledgeable, and the power of social media, ensures that information trickles down very quickly. And these are people who are getting information in real time. Now, I would say this, the general disquiet, the general uproar, because it's not just with the young people, and from all these time that when the people have been speaking, and pointing out and maybe even calling the government to act on certain issues that maybe the government is trying to address, and others that they seem not to have addressed at all. The concerns of the young people, of course, the major one is unemployment. Forget about anything else. And the venting that the young people are doing on the socials is not wrong. I mean, it's only that they had taken that anger and the agitation to the streets, and we blocked the streets for them. And therefore, they have got no other better place to air out their views and even to ventilate if it is not on social media. But having said that, there's also a lot of incitement on the young people by the older generation and by the politicians, especially by the opposition. And one of the observations that I have personally made as a woman and as a young person, even in the coalition that the opposition has come up with, whether we are going to call it a movement, a coalition, the coming together of all these fellows that are calling themselves the opposition, there's no youth that are represented in that coalition. There are no young people. In fact, there's only one woman, Martha Karua, who is in that team. So really, even as we keep agitating, even as we keep inciting
you said
the young
that side of the political divide has incited the youth. I'm wondering how
they have incited the young people, because throughout they say that they speak the language of the Gen Zs, and we know the language of the Gen Zs. Other than just speaking and telling us that they speak or they understand the Gen Zs, what have they done about that? And the question is, you know, you cannot keep promising. The young people are unhappy because of the promises that were made to them by this regime, and the regime has not actualized the promises and the things that they promised the young people. Now, you cannot, again, keep calling the young people and building a relationship with the young people upon a promise, because I'm sure those promises will not be kept. And how are you going to keep the promise to the young people if the young people are not included in that coalition?
And we'll come discuss the opposition issues, because it's a whole discussion.
In the Muli, if I may just finish, if there are people who have actually failed the generation or the young people, is the elected leaders who got into office under the banner of them being either young, marginalized, or just women. Okay. Because there is representation of young people in government today. We have so many young members of parliament, we have so many young senators and all that. Even the president and his former, partner, they campaigned on those platforms of supporting the youth and economically empowering the youth. Okay. So everybody, and the young people are just unhappy that the promise was not kept.
Okay. Dismas, I could see when Mutambo was speaking, you were seriously disagreeing with what he said. What he said was that the people around the president are lying to him, and that they may make him feel that he's very popular probably in Nyanza, while in essence he's not. Why do you disagree with that statement?
No, I disagree with the latter part, but what you've indicated, the probability does exist that the people close to President Ruto could be offering erroneous advice on his popularity across the nation. But at the same time, President Ruto has got the National Intelligence Service, which gives him very credible information about the state of the nation. So he's got access to information that the majority of Kenyans do not have. So while there's a probability that people close to him are lying to him, while there's a probability that the other political partners could be lying to him, it would be a fallacy of generalization for us to say that a single incident of a young man who decides to throw a stone is a reflection of the thinking of the people from Nyanza. I come from Nyanza. I come from that part of Nyanza. It may not be the case that I hold the position similar to the person who decided to throw the projectile to the president. So to use one incident alone of somebody, throwing a projectile at the president, then you say that that is a general position, that would be a fallacy.
If, for example, this happened in Mount Kenya region, and right deep somewhere in Karatina, wouldn't we take it that that is a general feeling of the people of that region?
You would take it, but you'll be assaulting logic. It will not be a general feeling. You recall not long ago, while Mr. Raila Odinga was visiting again the coast, a gentleman decided to come with a cane and gave him a beating. Does it mean that he lost his popularity in Coast Province? It's not the case. So you cannot use one incident of a young man who decides to throw a projectile and then you make a general statement. Although, again, from a political perspective, it's very easy to make political capital out of that and say that shoe thrower reflects the cumulative thinking of Nyanza province. That would be assaulting logic. It is an error. It's a fallacy of generalization. That is number one. Number two, you've spoken about the youth and online. Kenya has got probably the most creative youth all over the world. So they've taken the incident to monetize. For them, when they wake up in the morning, they say, what opportunities are available for monetization? And they're doing it. So some of them are monetizing it, not because they associate with the shoe throwing incident, but there's an opportunity to make money. And you can even relate it to an international level. When Donald Trump said that he's imposing tariffs on products coming from China, a Chinese based in China came up with merchandise, say boycott China products. So this is a China man based in China who is making products, says boycott China products, you know, making t-shirts and capes, and they were being sold in the US. But he's seen, Donald Trump is on telling boycott Chinese products. But a Chinese man makes these products and they're shipped to the US for sale. And you know, they sell like hotcakes. So who benefits? Again, is the Chinese people. So that is something that we need to tap to and appreciate the fact that Kenyans are very creative. When there's an opportunity for them to monetize, they must. Right. But the era, we may slide into that area of making fallacies of generalization. But again, you know, we are in a political space, so one would understand where some of these conversations are coming from. And even as you continue analyzing the political space, I want us to move to the other discussion, because every one of you, I think, is tempted to talk about Wamunyoro and what's happening there. So yes, this is the main discussion. A lot of the cartoons focusing on that shoe-throwing incident in Migori, and it will continue making headlines. We can see the president's security has been beefed up after that shoe hurling incident in Migori, and we hope that such incidences do not happen again. Bwana Mutambo, I want us to focus on something else that played out at the weekend. Fred Matiang'i went to Kisii and he got a rousing welcome. On Sunday, he was in Karatina at the residence of the former deputy president. Now we're seeing your former party leader on the front page of the Star, and they asked the question, besieged leader. He was present at Wamunyoro. So was Fred Matiang'i and other leaders who are trying to form this coalition. And I'm wondering why questions are being asked on Kalonzo and not any other leader, because they're asking, will Wiper's Kalonzo accept to play second fiddle to Matiang'i? There's not even been a suggestion that Fred Matiang'i is a front runner. And will Mount Kenya agree to miss both presidency and running mate? Why is your former party leader on the front page of the Star today, Bwana Mutambo?
Before I go to my good friend and my former party leader and still my good friend up to today, allow me to disagree a little bit with my sister there, who said that the opposition is inciting youth. There is no way opposition has stood up to incite the youth. And I would want her to quote which day, which section of a media, which alighted any political leader from the opposition telling the youth what to do and what not to do. That is number one. Number two, I also want to tell my good friend, the last speaker, that when you say we are generalizing the incident, let me refer back to Kiswahili. Inzi moja huosesha nyama. Just one fly will rot the meat. And those who are good politicians and you know how to analyze politics, those incidents lead to something else. Not only that action and you say it has died there. I don't know whether you understand the political damage that incident has done to Mr. Ruto. It has a lot of and huge spiral impact, spiral effects to the people who make decision of this country. And those people make, unless we don't understand that the people who make decision for this country and who will be our leader tomorrow is a citizen. And what are they feeling out of that incident alone today? Forget about Migori. And when I say that the leaders who surround President Ruto are lying to him, it's very true. One, President Ruto has created more than enough enemies for himself. He's the one who has created more enemies for himself, not other people, not those people who are throwing shoes. And when we come to look at the whole issue and the whole aspect of the youth and the Gen Zs, what are they agitating for? What are they fighting for? Are they fighting to the ministers? No, they are fighting for their issues to be addressed by the sitting government. And when my sister asked, what did the opposition do for the leader? The opposition is not in power to do anything for the youth. The only thing they can do is to give an advice and to give, hope for tomorrow. And that is how politics is based. I'm vying. I will not just go there and tell people I'll not do this for you. You have to give hope to the people. And when you don't give hope, then you become hopeless yourself. So I just wanted to differ there a little bit. Coming back to my party leader, Kalonzo Musyoka and Matiang'i, and going to Kisii. Politics is about perception and how people perceive you out there and what kind of actions do you do politically. Matiang'i did one thing. When he came, he went to his place to ask for blessings. And the people turned out to show support. And if you don't have your constituency support, then going out to others is still it's nothing. And I think people are judging Kalonzo by what has been happening lately. And I think I addressed it in your show last time when I said, when Baba came from Addis Ababa, what did he do? He said he's doing some consultation and he was going around meeting people. Now, my good friend here, Kalonzo Musyoka, what does he do? From one wedding to a church function, I don't know to whose house, I don't know. If you don't pull crowd, if you don't pull masses in politics, nobody will appreciate you. Nobody will think that you have mass. It doesn't matter how good English you can speak. It doesn't matter how beautiful or handsome you are. It is the numbers and the masses you can pull behind you. That is what will propel you. That is the catapult. The people whom you have. That's when you say, this guy has got muscle and he has got masses behind him. So maybe Kenyans are, I'm not judging him because I know with some good people around him. Because when you look at Kalonzo, who is surrounding Kalonzo? If he is not with Keo today, tomorrow is with Makali Modu. The other day is with, I don't know what is the name of the lady of the two county. She is my good friend, but the name is disappearing. Those kind of attitude towards the public and towards the people who can marshal your politics is what people are judging Kalonzo. And when you go back to Ukambani, you ask yourself, who is supporting Kalonzo in Ukambani? Not supporting following him, because people want seats. People who can really marshal political strength in his area. People are asking Kalonzo, why have you not brought your constituency together, which is the Lower Eastern? Because all the heavyweights, political heavyweights, are not on this table. And that's why people are quickly judging him. There is no way you can ignore somebody like Madama in Ukambani. There is no way you can ignore somebody like Musela, even if he's old in Ukambani. There is no way you can ignore somebody like Mutakiwana in Ukambani, even if he's old. Not to mention Mutambo and the rest. So if all those people are not in his table, people are wondering, how are you coming to marshal the entire nation if you cannot marshal your own Ukambani? Okay. Because the biggest opposition of Kalonzo is in Ukambani, by the way. Okay. It is not in other places. In Central, they like him. In other places, but he has not marshaled his own constituency. Okay. This is one problem Kalonzo
is this a rather harsh judgment on the Wiper Party leader, Bwana Gakuya? I know that discussion on who will take the mantle for that formation, you're not yet at that point. Is this a fair or a harsh judgment on the Wiper Party leader?
Thank you, Dimboli. I just want to first respond to my good friend Mutambo. And I just want to tell him that as much he's so dissatisfied with the game plan of Kalonzo Musyoka in the politics, each member, each and individual has his own tactics of making what we call political inroads. And I can tell you just a simple example of my early election for the various terms. Me, I never do such big gathering just to hook public to my way. And this is the way I does my campaign. And that's the route I believe is the best. And anybody, any other leader who have the desire to lead has his own mechanism. One, let me say, we should not judge Kalonzo in this page in the manner that the Star want to judge him. I would like to say Kalonzo is well placed. And if there is one man today I can say has stood firm, is Kalonzo Musyoka. Kalonzo is known as a watermelon. And most of the political rearrangements Sometimes he leaves the team and walks alone. And sometimes you may think that he is with you, but you later find him on another vessel. But in this particular one, Kalonzo broadly has stand firm. He has been given carrots, invited by William Ruto to take carrots of becoming part of the broad-based government. And Kalonzo has stood firm. So if there is somebody I can give complimentary for now, it's Kalonzo and the manner he has treated himself politically. It shows at the stage we are in, maybe he has learned enough. And it's high time Kalonzo now can be trusted. And it's high time we cannot judge him over his bush cover. And as much as the weight of Kalonzo in Eastern Kamba is concerned, I don't believe, as Mutambo wants to allude to us, it is not necessarily for Kalonzo to put in his on his vessel. Mudama is already working with the government, and it is not fair to push him to get out of the government so that he can be seen working with you. Number two is that other fellow, old man he has talked about. Musila. Musila is a retired fellow. Allow Mutura to rest at home. And I think if Mutura feels that, in fact, he has to walk out of the political stage, let it be it. But there is so many other energetic Kamba leaders coming up, and also current, who are in a very serious support with Kalonzo Musyoka. And therefore, Kalonzo is not walking alone. In the same podium that we were at Munyoro, Kalonzo was there, and he wasn't alone. He was there with a battalion of about elected leaders. And this tells you he is working with his team. So he's not walking alone. And as much as decisions will be made on who will carry the mantle of this particular movement, I am sure, for the first time, Kalonzo will settle with whatever decision will be made. Because if he has grown enough and he has matured in this manner that he can now fit and build what we call a team together, then for a cause to see its way through, there has to be sacrifices. And let me tell you, it's not only Kalonzo who can sacrifice himself. Every other member of that particular movement can sacrifice. So let us not say when Kalonzo will not find the chance to lead the movement as the presidential candidate, that will become the end of the road. Let us not say that when Matiang'i will not see the flag bearer of the movement, that will become the end of the road. Every single member of that movement should come without any single-minded that this has to be my cake. And therefore, if this cake is not going to be available, then I will walk away. I think the first instance is their conscience. Their conscience is to win the battle. And if that is is their own dream, the destiny is not here. The destiny is when they win the battle. And therefore their togetherness is very important. And whoever the team will come with, it is important that these people agree that that is the best. And whatever methodology will be used to arrive to a candidate, it should remain their secret. Because let us also agree that we know William Ruto and how William he can also be able to mutilate them if they are not wise. Right. So they should play wise politics as they move on.
I think all the questions are around the possible unity of the opposition, if we call it that, because I can see a narrative here, and I'm looking at a tweet by Honorable Moses Kuria, who is an advisor to the president. And he says the more things change, the more they remain the same. The 2027 presidential election will have the same intrigues and outcomes as both the 1992 and 1997 presidential elections, where failure by the opposition to unite resulted in President Moi winning those two successive elections. He says, I was in the heart of both, so I know. I will explain more in my next TV interview. I don't know where that will be. But the narrative is, everyone is questioning the possibility of this unity of opposition holding for the next 2 years. Do you share the same sentiments? That
I think you need to invite Moses Kuria to this show so that he can shed some more light.
It's the same question that this the Star is asking.
Yeah.
Will they hold?
you know, generally, I think personally I have a beef to pick with most of our leaders, the older generation. The style of leadership in this country is such that you'll form a coalition and then you get into government, betray each other, disagree a little bit, then bolt out, form another coalition, and then if you disagree in that coalition, you'll have a few of you, you know, turn back and go back to where you guys are coming from. I mean, these old school kind of tactics and games are tired, and it's something that needs to stop. If there's someone who had managed to convince the entire country that it was time to change from that to something different, it was actually William Samoei Ruto and his former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. They were actually not voted along tribal lines. They came up with a narrative, they convinced the people who voted for them that they were going to improve the livelihoods and give them better lives and that kind of a thing. Now, looking at the opposition, and you know, clearly we can see that they're trying to take us back to tribal politics, that this region will bring this. Exactly what Mheshimiwa Mutambu is saying, that Kalonzo needs to put together the Kambas, and the other one now needs to put together this, and the other one needs to together. That's old school kind of politics. And I actually believe that the country has moved forward. Post-2022, it will be highly unlikely for any politician, any serious, you know, the people we are looking at, the ones who think that they can win the election. I'm telling you, they are going to have a very hard task trying to take us back to tribal politics. That's not going to happen again in this country. We have moved from tribal politics to politics of issues. Now, the only challenge that has been there for the president and his lieutenant is that they don't seem to have kept their word. You know, they promised so much and very little has been achieved so far. Now, for me, when I look at the opposition, I even ask myself, how did these fellows come together? How? They have very little in common, if anything. Some of them, as we know them, are quite abrasive. Kalonzo is quite diplomatic in all his ways and the way he does things. And I am wondering how he will be able to work with someone like Wamunyoro. You know, it's an issue of what we call mtaani kufichiana kadi. Because what will happen if there's one person in that coalition who is known for bullying others, and he has bullied everybody, and he thought he would run people out of town, and now he's the one who was run out of town. If he tries to bully some of the characters in that coalition, like Martha Karua, you bully Martha Karua, she will bully you back, and she will walk out. You bully Matiang'i, Matiang'i will bully you back. You can bully Kalonzo. Maybe Kalonzo will smile a little bit the way he does and relax and pretend that everything is okay. And maybe that is why he earned the title Watermelon. I do not see this opposition, this team that has formed the opposition, holding until 2027. Mm-hmm. I have the advantage of having interacted with a number of them. I know what they stand for. I know some do not even mean what they say in public. And it is a matter of wait and see, you know, in terms of how they are going to run their business. We have already seen how they are running it so far. Like, for example, they've already started betraying each other. The person who came publicly and proposed Matiang'i for president, we all know it was actually my Secretary General, Jeremiah Kioni. Have you seen Jeremiah Kioni in all those arrangements, in all those meetings? No. Why? Why are they leaving him out? So betrayal has started too early in that part of the political alignment. And I'm actually wondering what else could be going on, you know, beneath the surface, because this is what we can see. How about those things that we really cannot see?
Okay. This must definitely, when it comes to this... very briefly.
As for me, from my panelists, what if Kioni himself has taken a decision not to attend such meetings? Mm-hmm. Should he be forced?
Okay.
He did?
No, Kioni, my Secretary General,
how can we call it
my Secretary General attended the Gusii Stadium meeting with members from our party, Jubilee, so many of them, all right? And he was not even given an opportunity to speak. Let's start from there. And he was there. That's number one. Even to speak. On Saturday, he didn't speak. Mm-hmm. Number two, at Wamunyoro, he was not invited. And I speak here as a member of the Jubilee Party.
All right. That's definitely an issue. But Fred Matiang'i definitely appears to have ignited something in this opposition coalition. Even when you look at the front page of the Star, the suggestion is that he could be the front runner. Hence, they're asking the question, will Kalonzo agree to play second fiddle to Matiang'i? Is that the game changer?
Well, you know, most of the time, Kalonzo Musyoka in the Kenyan political space is judged unfairly. During the last general elections, using his special purpose vehicle by the name Wiper, he stamped his authority in Ukambani politics, where he ensured that if you do not run on a Wiper ticket, then the probability of you winning is almost zero. However, having secured the Ukambani votes, he must demonstrate the killer instinct. He has not demonstrated that he's got the appetite to become president of Kenya. You know, you don't just go to the top of Mount Everest or Kilimanjaro and you say, I want to be president of Kenya. That statement must be followed by action. While he has stamped his authority in Ukambani politics, but he has not gone outside Ukambani politics to create a euphoria. And as a messaging expert in political communication, when you listen to what people said during the Wamunyoro meeting, you see people differentiating themselves. First of all, the initial branding that you are calling this, I think, Wamunyoro coalition makes majority of Kenyans feel left out. Like, for instance, I come from Mosocho. If I want to form a national movement, I'm not going to call it the Mosocho coalition because you are going to make people feel left out. Now, for Rigathi Gachagua and Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, the glue holding them together is Ruto must go and give Ruto a one-term presidency. That is the glue holding them together. But as indicated elsewhere, the glue will start melting away when they need to take a decision on who is going to be the presidential candidate. While there is a part of Kenya that wants Ruto to go, but they have not told him where, while there's a good part of Kenyans that want a one-term presidency, but so what if Ruto goes? So what happens next? And you notice that what Fred Matiang'i indicated during his meeting, he did not even discuss the person of President Ruto. He did not even discuss the coalition, but he said, Kenya has got a problem and we want to offer a solution. So for Mura in Mosocho, for Wanjiko in Muranga, for Alima in Mombasa, all of them may want Ruto to go. But so what happens after Ruto goes? Will mortgages be reviewed? Will the cost of living be reviewed? And that is how Fred Matiang'i came in and they gave a message of hope. So you can see he's already differentiating himself. He's saying that while people are unhappy with the status quo, I'm not going to focus on the personality. And anybody who's been in Kenya just for a day knows that Rigathi Gachagua and President Ruto were tight friends at some stage. And when their friendship collapsed because of personal issues, now Rigathi Gachagua has decided to nationalize his personal issues. He wants to use the 2027 general elections to settle personal scores. He wants to settle personal scores. So the question is, are prudent Kenyans going to join Rigathi Gachagua to assist him settle his personal scores with the president, or are they going to elect a leader who will take Kenya to the next level? Right now, we need to position Kenya as an FDI destination, attract a lot of international investments. We need to catalyze our imports and exports. So are Kenyans going to elect somebody who wants to settle scores with William Samoei Ruto, or they're going to elect a leader who will take people to the next level? And you've raised a very fundamental point about the headline in the Star. When Fred Matiang'i was coming to Kenya, people dismissed him. They said this is a public servant. He works for an international agency. He cannot even organize a meeting back in the village. And again, as a messaging expert, the reason why he invested time and resources to make sure that the Kisii meeting is a success, because we are a tribal society, and my friend Kathy is saying that we are no longer tribal. But believe you me, our DNA is tribal. You cannot come to the national level and start discussing politics if you have not beaten your community into a pulp. That is what you must do. And you remember Maraga, who also comes from the same community, has been positioning himself as a presidential candidate. But after Matiang'i's entry to Kisii over the weekend, I think Maraga may need to sit back and review his position. Because we may not like it. We may say that now Kenyans, we are going to vote everything around ideas, present your philosophy. But at the stepping stone, actually in Kenya, you will not be given room or even audience to present your ideas if you don't have your community as a stepping stone. So you must have your community as a stepping stone, then you come to the national level. And in my view, the game changer in 2027 presidential elections is going to be former President Kenyatta and Mr. Raila Odinga. And as Mutambo has indicated, there are the people working around President Ruto today telling him to tuko pamoja. But believe you me, sometime Easter of 2027, that is when we will start seeing real politics in Kenya. You know, that time when public servants of rank must resign from public office, when you are about to go to the party primaries, that is when we will see the true faces of politicians.
All right.
And if President Ruto is not very careful, all the people working around him, right now they're maintaining proximity to him because of their personal selfish interest. He may be surprised that they'll bolt. You recall when we were approaching the first multi-party elections in Kenya, that was 1992, every bulletin, saa saba na saa tatu usiku, it was all about defection, it was all about defection, it was all about defection. And in my view, I'd like to encourage people to defect from Wamunyoro, to go to UDA, to go to ANC, to go to Ford Kenya. Let us have mass defections so that at the end of the day we can see who among all these leaders can take us to the next level.
All right. Bwana Mutambu, I know the question I'd asked you earlier was about Kalonzo Musyoka, but I want you to give us your assessment of this formation of opposition leaders who met on Sunday at Wamunyoro, especially after what we saw in Kisii. Do you think they do stand a chance of sustaining this unity towards 2027?
Before I answer your question, let me tell my good friend Kaguya, Mheshimiwa Kaguya, wewe hujui Kalonzo. Mheshimiwa Kaguya, you don't know Kalonzo. So good about him, but you don't know him. It's a man who can turn your tables at any minute unexpectedly. This is a person I know very well. I respect him. I love him as my brother. And for your information, I support him 100%. Don't think that I don't support. Today I'm supporting Kalonzo. Let me declare my stand. But when you support somebody, you also have to tell them the truth. You don't become a sycophant, telling somebody, President, you are the president, Mr. President, and you are not showing, he is not showing you which road are you taking to the State House. You have to tell him that, you know what, this behavior is not good. For us to win, we need to do more than what we are doing today. And that does not mean you dislike him. It's because I love him. That's why I tell him, Mr. Kakuya. I have to tell you that. Number two, when my sister talks about we are out of I don't know tribal, I don't know what, I don't know which country she comes from. I don't know whether it is Kenya, and I don't know whether she's been observing Kenyan politics and the situation we are in today. And to negate what she's saying, she went back and said that his party secretary general was not given a space to speak in Kisii. What does that tell you? She is advocating for his line, because we have political, lines in Kenya. And our politics are like that. You support the person whom you love and whom you want to support, whether it's your tribe or it's not your tribe. But the question of the issue of saying that in Kenya there are no tribes, my dear sister, I don't know, I'm sorry. The reason why people are meeting at Kwamunyoro and they are not meeting at Kimani Nkujiri's house is for a reason. This man has some people behind him. And those people who speak at those people are in one line, my sister, whether you like it or not. Mulima is in one, that, for your information, Mulima don't vote for anybody. They vote against, for your information. So if Mulima has decided we are going to vote against this person, they don't care who comes in. They don't care. They will vote against the person they don't like. And the guess of who they don't like today is good as yours. My guess is good as yours, my sister. So when we say there are no tribal realignment in politics in Kenya, we are deceiving ourselves. We are lying to ourselves. Political, tribal realignment in our country, they are there. They are there. And I will not say that I'm a messiah, I'm going to remove it tomorrow. No, we need a lot of time to come out of it. It is not going to come out of it. We are not going to come out of it tomorrow.
What is your assessment
of
what happened in Wamunyoro?
Reality. So coming back to your question about whether this team will hold until next general election. There is a reason for them to hold. There was a reason for people to come together in 2022. And the agenda was to remove Moi in power with his own team, with his team. So today, Kenya has an agenda. Today. And the agenda is to give Mr. Ruto one term. That is the agenda. Whether we like it, those who have eyes, they will see that Kenya today has an agenda. Kenyans have had enough of Mr. Ruto. So for that reason, they will hold it together. If there is anybody, and let me say it, if there is anybody who will either defect or you will find in Sigoi, is the man we are discussing now. If there is anybody who is likely to find himself around Sigoi, if he is not the candidate, and this has been my worry, and it should be everybody's worry, and we should know how to mitigate this, because it's an issue. Let us not sugarcoat it. Let's say as it is. We had somewhere that sometimes he goes to State House at night, blah, blah, blah. I will not vouch for that. I don't know. I will not say he goes or he doesn't go. But I'm telling you, because it's someone I know, Mr. Gaguya, please, if you have any speed limit or bumps, put them around Nakuru, because you'll find that guy flying, going that side. I'm telling you this, and you will come to bear me witness, because I know what I'm talking about. So, the issue of being together is very paramount for the country today.
You're talking about someone and you're not willing
each and every person to be in this coalition.
Bwana Mutambu, you've talked about someone without mentioning the name. I just wanted to clarify, which man are you talking about? Are you talking about the man on the front page of the Star?
I'm not the one who the editor of Star.
Okay.
I'm not the editor of Star.
Now. It's clear. So, Kathy, I don't know if you want to react to anything that he has said briefly so that we can move to a different discussion.
First of all, I think it's really wrong for the former member of parliament to try and mimic my voice. I mean, it's uncalled for. It is total indiscipline. Number two, I think he has picked a few issues. One is when I said that the Gen Zs have been incited by certain people from opposition. It is true. And I remember the Gen Z movement was actually organic. The youth came to the streets on their own volition. I mean, they were not forced, and the issues that the young people raised were actually genuine. Up to now, the issues that they keep raising are legit, and it is something that the leaders of this nation actually need to listen to for sure. But I remember one woman who went to a church. She's a spouse of one of the principals in the opposition, and she told the Gen Zs, watu wangu muna occupy kabisa. That was incitement. That was incitement. Number two, I want to tell Honorable Mutambu, former member of parliament, that some of the people he's trying to protect. I have heard him tell Mheshimiwa here very many times that he should not talk about Kalonzo because he knows Kalonzo better. I want to tell him that we know Amunyoro better than him. So he cannot purport to tell us or purport to know where the people of Mount Kenya region are. The people of Mount Kenya region today are behind His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, period.
Okay, thank you. And at that point, I want us to hold on the politics and discuss something that should also be concerning Kenyans, but unfortunately is no longer on the front pages. And this is the issue
but in Dimuli, you could not rise us from that point. You know,
which one now?
That last bit from my panelist. What measure could she tell us that the Mount Kenya region is under the block and one hand of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta? When we are very sure in Dimuli, Uhuru was unable to convince Mount Kenya. He only secured 15% out of 100%. Okay. How can he let Gachagua against Uhuru in this one? What is her thermometer?
Okay, and I don't want us to dwell on that a bit.
No, it is important that we respond with all due respect. I think the people of Mount Kenya, if it is about them being disgruntled and unhappy with government, they also know the people who led them to this government. And the people who led the people of Mount Kenya to government today are the likes of Mheshimiwa Gakuya here, are the likes of the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. What is this that they have realized now that they had not realized then? Number two, if there is one person who has been truthful all through with the people of Mount Kenya, is His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. He has always told the people, he told us initially, don't go that route. and the people went that route. Later, he has come back, he has tried to caution the people and show them direction. He's a good man, he means well, and that is why we will rally behind him.
And what was the option? What was the option of Ruto?
Let me help Kagwea. Let me help Kagwea.
Yes.
Let me help Kagwea. With my sister here, whom I don't understand what she has two mouths. At one point she's supporting, on the other mouth she's talking, I don't know, sorry to say this. But the turning point, which Uhuru saw, the turning point, it is the same turning point Wamunyoro saw. So if you can give credit to Uhuru for turning around, for seeing something and saying, no, this is not right, that was wrong.
Okay.
Or the people of Mount Kenya turning around, understanding where was wrong, then there is the same spirit you should give to Wamunyoro for seeing that this man was Kagwea, understanding that this man is not the right man.
All right.
Okay, you get married to somebody that you divorce tomorrow. It is because when you get married, you knew this person is a good person. But after taking 3 nights with him in the bed, you see, this one is not a good person for me and for my life.
All right.
So there is always a turning point, my sister. This is what I'm trying to tell you. That's why I wanted to help you. And for your information, you may not know this. I am a life member of Jubilee. And Uhuru is my buddy. He's my good friend. He's the one who brought me to Jubilee. The reason why I'm not in Parliament is because I supported Uhuru, for your information.
All right.
So we understand all these dynamics, political dynamics.
Thank you so much, Madam Mutambu. I really want us to move on from that.
My second half comes from Mount Kenya, and I spend most of my time there. I know it very well.
Okay. I really want us, because we have only about 10 minutes, and I wanted us to talk about one thing, and that's the issues around organ harvesting, which Kenyans appeared to have swept under the rug. This week, MPs are collecting views from members of the public on what should happen going forward. This could be an indication of a lack of proper policy framework on how to govern such issues. So the Health Committee of the National Assembly has invited members of the public to submit information and evidence regarding suspected irregularities in kidney transplant procedures at Medihill Hospital in Eldoret. This is a key conversation where, when we discuss a lot of politics, we sometimes tend to ignore some of these key conversations. Let's start with you, Dismas. It is a serious concern. Are you worried that probably even as a country we lack proper policies and frameworks under which we should even have this discussion? Because it appears everyone is groping in the dark. Is it a police issue? Is it a parliamentary matter? What really happens?
Actually, this is my... I've organized a number of international conferences promoting Kenya as a medical tourist destination. When you compare Kenya with our neighbors, we've got very superior facilities. And it's been the case that majority of our neighbors, instead of coming to Kenya for medical attention, they've been going to India or going to Europe or the US. So you've got a number of private investors, including Medihill, who've started offering world-class services. And issues have been raised around the organ transplant, but it's important to address 3 fundamental questions. The people who are raising these issues, number one, are they donors or the recipients? And has anybody gone to the law enforcement officers, to a police station, to raise a question about the services at Medihill? And while I was doing research for that subject, I discovered not a single Kenyan has gone to any police station accusing Medihill of these transplants. And the obtaining situation is that if somebody wants to have a transplant, you want a kidney, you go and look out for somebody who can give you a kidney, so that the donor and the recipient, they've got their own contracts. They agree on terms of payments. So it's not the responsibility of the hospital to ensure that the donor has been paid. It's not the responsibility of the hospital to ensure that after the donors offered an organ, that they're going to be on a very good diet after the operation. But what Medihill ensures is that when you are at the hospital, you produce evidence and documents that the donor and recipient are agreed. And it's even recorded.
But should that be the way to go, where it is a transaction between 2 people, that either the organ donator and I'm the recipient, and we can just agree somewhere? Isn't that an indication of a lack of proper policy framework on how to govern such things? And is it a parliamentary issue going forward?
Yeah, Dimoni, on this particular aspect, what we must all agree is that we cannot allow a haphazard way of harvesting human organs. We will make it a very dangerous business because people will even lose their lives for people to harvest those organs. And therefore there has to be a clear restriction that unless it's a known issue that this particular organ is agreed between these two number of individuals for this particular purpose. But we cannot open it for business at all. That should be locked completely. It should be for a serious need case. Because if we fail to go that direction idemically,
is it something
we will
that requires
just
legislation?
open it and make it a law and make it an official way of making business, and it will be haphazardly used as what we currently have, what we call trafficking of our young ones. It is not important at all even to try to entertain it. It should be completely locked, but there should be a policy where in such a scenario, let us agree that in fact the two who agreed also has to present themselves to the hospital so that the hospital can put records, and those records can be something to be actually admissible. Anytime we want to know who did this, why, and that should be in record. Otherwise, in law, we should not allow it to open it and leave it as a way of making business. Yes. The way currently it is happening, because it's haphazard and it is going to be misused.
Kathy, can you see the gaps here? That,
Very.
Even in terms of legislation, there seems to be a huge gap.
Glaring gaps in our health sector, so to speak. Even before this issue came up, there was another concern on cancer treatment, where over 40% of the cases are either misdiagnosed or maybe you're also given the wrong medication and stuff like that. And very many patients came out, and it was actually in one of the dailies. The other concern is also on blood transfusion. You know, we've been reading all these things, transplant, transfusion, treatments, especially for the non-communicable diseases. Yes, there needs to be some, policy framework to take care of this plantation, because it will happen all the time. Blood donation will keep happening all the time. And by the way, there has been another debate that has always been raised by women members of parliament on IVF, the facilitated reproductive health. And all these things, to me, leave a lot to be desired, because they are debated and then left. Mm-hmm. Our laws are wanting. But even as we talk about the law, I think there is more than meets the eye. I also saw in another article, some two boda riders said that they contemplated selling their kidneys to buy a motorbike. Who is this who is buying kidneys? Who is this who is giving people money for kidneys? And how much of that has been happening, behind our backs? Because I don't think this is something that just started the other day. I want to believe it's something that has been happening over time. And as a scientist myself, I know that at times we also lack epidemiology on a lot of things, but we cannot afford to lack or to ignore data when it comes to transplantation.
Let me bring Bwana Mutambu to this. What's your opinion on this issue about organ trafficking and transplant in Kenya? Do you think there are enough safeguards to protect both the donor and the recipient, even businesses that are conducting such procedures?
My opinion will be political. It is wrong for politicians to engage in an exercise which should be carried out by other institutions. And when we legislate, we don't legislate for a particular institution. We legislate for the entire nation. And we cannot pick an issue of a particular institution and dwell on it, and we don't make a good legislation on how to govern and how to operate in such an atmosphere. I would be of opinion that the moment we make this as a business venture, then it will go wrong, because people would want to make money out of it, and they don't care how they do it. Either they take Mutambo, kill them, remove their kidney and sell, so long as they make money. we should come up with a proper legislation which governs how this process should be undertaken. I like the way we take the blood donation. Nobody asks money for blood donation. And it's also part of my body. We don't charge. So likewise, if somebody is giving out their kidney, the law should be very clear that you are giving it out for free, and that will eliminate the appetite of making money out of it. It's my view, what I think, it's according to my opinion. But if we do not formulate good legislation towards how Kenyans, or not even Kenyans, anybody in this country, because we make laws for our country, don't make laws for other countries. Making laws on how to manage this sector of, even if it's giving out your eye, your tooth, your whatever, how to do it, then we have a lacuna. Because if somebody is gaining something, and like the way my sister has alluded, I will send my kidney to buy a motorbike. If somebody knows that if somebody knows that this organ or this particular thing has got monetary value, they will do anything to get it to the market. And this is what we need to avoid when we are legislating.
Thank you, Bwana Mutambo. Final word on this, Dismas.
In my view, the way the members of parliament have indicated, we need very good policies so that the donors have got capacity to take a decision. Whether you come up with a policy saying that you cannot sell an organ for transplantation purposes, whether it's going to be pro bono, but there needs to be very clear policy. And also we must come up with that very heavy legislation to stop the organ trafficking. Because we know that we are living in a capitalist society. There are many people who may take advantage of loopholes in the legal space or lack of policy to engage in organ transplanting. But the critical thing is, as we try to position Kenya as a medical tourist destination, the authorities must support both the public sector as well as the private sector. For people who come up with the initiatives to invest in healthcare, they must not be punished on account of a failure to have the right kind of policies or regulatory framework. And if anybody feels offended that maybe a particular hospital is engaging in mischief, then they're invited to go to the law enforcement officers and make a judgment, and make a complaint. And because we're in a very competitive capitalist economy, there's even a chance that what you've been seeing the last couple of days around the organ transplants, it could even be the competition who are running their competition. It could be the competition maybe who are unhappy with the state of affairs. And in a capitalist economy, it's very easy to engage in a smear campaign.
Okay, thank you. Bwana Gakwe, you have about a minute for your final comments.
In fact, to conclude that particular last bit, in fact, there has to be a clear policy on how this has to be addressed so that we cannot leave a lacuna anywhere. One is that we must address that element, because if we leave it open, it will become a trafficking and we lose many. We have an experience of ladies losing their life in what we call apartments or lodgings, and we don't know whether it's a disappearance of those kind of organs that have been harvested. And therefore, it's a window that we should close and put a very clear policy that what one should do and what one should follow, and equivalent these particular centers, facilities like hospitals, what kind of procedure they should follow so that they can be within the law. If that is followed, I think we are good to go.
Kathy.
So I think in my closing remarks, first of all, thank you very much for having us all the time to deliberate on some of these issues. For me, my closing remarks, every day we come here, we discuss, we seem to be going back to the same issues. And one of one issue that stands out is actually the disquiet in the country, let me call it so. But everybody and everyone, including ourselves here, we seem to be looking forward to better days and wishing that we can have a better Kenya, better governance, and a country that is run better. But that country that is run better will not happen unless we change the way we do things.
Fred, please give me 30 seconds.
I'm
informed that Kathy comes from Omunyoro, so I suspect she's got capacity to comment on Omunyoro politics.
I want to give Bwana Mutambu first, because our time is up. Bwana Mutambu, 60 seconds for your final comment.
My final call is a call to the opposition to remain united. Former party leader, we love you so much. Please remain to this course. Either it's you or it's not you. Either it's Mutambu will be picked to be a flag bearer, support him. Support whoever will be picked, because this is very important for this country. There's a reason why we are at this position. It is because of leadership, the current leadership we have today. So please, let us remain united in that cause. It doesn't matter who is a flag bearer. Let us talk about Kenya. Let us think about our country, Kenya, and not about ourselves. That's my final comment.
Thank you so much. Joe Mutambu, former MP Mwingi Central, Kathy Rungu, political leader, James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North, and Dismas Mokua, political risk analyst, our panelists this morning on State of the Nation. Thank you so much for your time at TV47. After the break, we switch gears and talk about matters retirement. When should you prepare for such, and when is too early? Preparing for retirement, George Oyuga, Director Retirement Solutions, Kuza Asset Management Limited, will be having a sit-down with my colleague Arno Dida. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. Have a lovely day.
Get ready for the